lovely blue lighting. My biological father once told me that there are two things that he does not discuss because they only start fights. These are the two things that divide the world the most, therefore I believe these should probably be discussed. So, will say this, I am not looking to start any kind of fights here. But I am going to discuss one of these two things. I will discuss the other one at a later date because I know that's going to start a fight. The thing I'm going to discuss today, though, is politics. The other one is religion. But that will come later. Now, when people think of politics, at least here in America, which is where I'm from, they tend to think in two categories, red or blue. I no longer see things that way, red or blue. I no longer see Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative. It seems to me that at some point we quit being a republic or a democracy and moved into the realm of a plutocracy. Therefore, when you're discussing anything about politics, you now have to discuss finances and money as well. I personally do not see that our votes are having much of an effect on anything. First, the history of American politics, that's what this should really be about. I don't really know much about the other countries. I couldn't tell you who the Prime Minister of Canada is, though I do believe it's a Prime Minister, right? I don't even know that. I do know Mexico has a president. Don't know who it is. Those are our two neighbors. Let's see. England has a parliament. And they have the Queen. God save the Queen. But American politics has become divided, and that's the way they like it. They want you to think in terms of me against him and keep your eyes off of anything that they're really doing up there. Washington has very few good men or women in it, and I couldn't really tell the difference between any of them. The first election that I was able to vote in was George W.'s run the second time. Now, I did not vote in that election. I will be honest, I did not like any of the candidates. I didn't like any of them. I have yet to find a candidate in either of the two major parties worth voting for. Because if you look at them, it's just going to be more of the same. Now, the election that has affected me the most would be the first election of Barack Obama. I will give the due respect deserved to the office President Barack Obama. However, at the same time, he came in on a whirlwind of change we can believe in. And that is a damn catchy slogan, and I wish I would have thought of it. It really did get the younger, disenfranchised voters out, I suppose. But at the same time, as most presidents in my day and age anyways, he didn't really live up to his hype, now did he? None of them really have. My earliest remembered political thought was watching George Sr. on the TV. Read my lips, no new taxes. Now, this is my first introduction into politics. I kind of knew he was the president. Kind of. And a lie. So, it is no secret politicians lie. It is no secret that there is so much money in politics that the common man's donation means shit. Most people can afford $5-10 to their chosen candidate. This does not add up, even with all of us pitching in $5 to a candidate that all of us seem to have liked. Would it amount to the amount of money that a single corporation, and now the super PACs, can throw into it? It's absolutely beyond belief. If you look at politicians' records, most of them have worked for some major corporation at some point, or they have been something that most people despise, a lawyer. We have always, to some extent or another, been ruled by people of means and wealth. George Washington was a wealthy plantation owner. He was very disenfranchised with England's taxes, along with many other plantation owners and the wealthy people of the day, the respected individuals of the day, should I say. However, the people that we seem to respect and elect now are very different from when our country first started. When our country first started, Ben Franklin, one of our founding fathers, was a well-known inventor, a man of science. We looked up to him then for his intellect. This no longer seems to be the case. Most people believe that George W. was an idiot. If he was that dumb, he really played his part well, so I guess he was a good actor. Now, who do I think we should be voting for? Honestly, I think our system's broken. If you choose to go liberal, conservative, you're voting for the same thing, but under a different name. You no longer have what anyone could consider conservatives within the Republican Party. They want to cut social welfare, what they are now dubbing entitlements, though most of us has paid some form of Social Security under any job. The Conservative Party claims they are fiscally responsible ones. At the same time, they somehow ended up running up a massive debt. The Democratic Party tries to claim, I'm not really sure what they're trying to claim at this point. Red, blue, none of it makes any sense to me. Why do you have to be a member of a political party? Well, the main reason is because two political parties have taken control of our government in a figurehead state. The president no longer has any real power. He has a resemblance of power. For the most part, however, Congress has what we consider to be the power. And they are all bought and paid for by corporations and banks. As much as I hate to say it, the divisions that they put between us is what is holding our country back. I'm not even going to place the blame on corporations at this point anymore, because from their viewpoint, it does make business sense. If they can get away with it, they're going to do it. This is the nature of greed and money. If you have a lot of money, you're going to do whatever you can to get more of it. There are exceptions to the rules. Some people give their money to things that are of note. Cancer research, to name one. But for the most part, our system has broken down. I have read that most of our founding fathers were against the formation of political parties. There's a reason behind that. When one or two groups control a majority of what is happening, it is much easier to move in and infiltrate the party through means of finances. Infiltrate the parties, you have control of a country, which is what we're seeing now. I will state that I do love my country. I do not like my government. I support the troops because they are doing what they believe to be the right thing. At the same time, our government is not treating them the way they should treat them. They are treating them as expendables. They do not see and do not give a face to the people who are supposed to be fighting for our freedoms. They do not send them to secure our freedoms so much as they send them to secure business interests now. To me, that's not right. Each of our soldiers in each of our branches has a reason that they are fighting. They are the ones that have to make the toughest decisions that none of us civilians ever hope to make. They have to take a life. If you've ever really sat down and thought about it, what it means to take another human being's life, if you do not have the best of reasons for doing this in your heart, this is going to drive you crazy. I do not know from experience how it feels to take another human being's life. But I can only imagine that when you're sent in to take out a party of insurgents and you come face to face with a 14-year-old boy holding an AK-47 and it's you or him, that's going to haunt you for the rest of your life. I have heard war stories from my biological father of what he would speak of it from Vietnam. Another war that was for business interests. Why did we go in? False flag events. And we bought those stories at the time. The war cost us millions of dollars, and in the end, we came out. It wasn't a victory. We didn't win this war. Why war? Because it's profitable. During a time in our history when we were suffering from some of the worst financial crises, known as the Great Depression, something began to happen in Europe. Later to be called World War II. It was not businessmen that brought us out of the Great Depression. It was war. Suddenly, we all had something to fight for. Something to rise against. Something to come together over. And we did. We came together as a nation after Pearl Harbor, and we did something both wonderful and horrible, both honorable and vile. That war ended with a bomb. Well, it didn't end. The Japanese pulled out of the war because we killed untold numbers of people. Men, women, children, the elderly, children that had nothing to do with the war. I cannot imagine what it must feel like to be the person that pulled the lever on the bomber. To know that you caused that much destruction. America has become a nation that is thriving on the destruction of other nations. Was Saddam Hussein a bad man? Yes. Did he need a bullet in his brain? Probably. I cannot make that judgment call. Should it have been left up to his people? Maybe. There's no way to go back and change any of that. We simply have to deal with the facts as they are. And the facts as they are, we were told the Taliban performed 9/11. Okay? We were out for blood. We were out for vengeance. Vengeance led us into Afghanistan. From Afghanistan, vengeance led us to Iraq. My question is, what is our next target? Who will we go against next? Because they want to keep this going. They want to keep war going at all times. Because war is profitable. The military-industrial complex is making billions, if not trillions, off of war. There was a time all we wanted was for war to cease. In order to stop fighting other people, you have to look at things from their perspectives. Right now, a lot of people place the enemy as Muslims. Having met several Muslims throughout my journeys, they want the same thing as Christians. They want the same thing as anybody else. Peace. Not all of them are jihad. It's a fanatical branch. A lot of people tend to throw everything together. Big, broad labels. One brush stroke, that's all of them. But it's not. We have to stop looking at people different from ourselves as just one broad and look at them as individuals. Every single person fighting across the world is an individual. Most of them think they are doing the right thing, either because they have been told by their governments that this is what is right, or they have been told by their pastors, preachers, holy men, that this is what they should be doing. Division. Divide and conquer. That's the plan of the people that are wealthy. If you divide the masses, they won't pay attention to what you're doing at the top. Instead, they'll continue to bicker and fight amongst themselves. They'll actually believe that the people coming across the border from Mexico are the enemy. They'll believe that because his political views are different from my political views, he's my enemy. He's the problem. They'll believe that their fellow citizen is the problem instead of looking for the real problem. Or, worse yet, for the people up there, coming together and looking for solutions. All our politicians do now is tell us what the problem is. Very few of them come out and offer a viable solution with compassion. Do I have the solutions? I have some ideas. Will they work? I don't know. They're untested and completely hypothetical. But I don't have the ultimate solution. There is one thing I can think of, but it would take Christians to start living by the teachings of Jesus and let go of the Old Testaments. That is, love thy enemy as thy love thy brother, as thy love thyself. Quit looking at each other as enemies and start looking at each other as all part of a larger family. It's a crazy concept, but it might just work. Will there be some people that just can't get with that? Of course. But I believe that there is a goodness in almost everyone. That there is the capacity to show compassion. We could do this. Now you will have other people saying, well, it's not supposed to get better, it's supposed to get worse. Why? Because a 2,000-year-old, not even 2,000-year-old yet, because a book, a small portion of a book, mind you, was written by a man. While the book was attributed to the first Peter, it wasn't even written by him. I said I was only going to go into politics, but likewise, the two have become intermingled here in America, at least. There is a group of Christians that believe we should be a Christian nation. That we were founded as a Christian nation, despite the fact that our forefathers, our founding fathers, themselves were not completely Christian. They believed in a divine creator, this is true. However, at the same time, they used logic when dealing with matters of state. Religion is supposed to be about your soul. Your soul is going to go through nothing that the physical body deals with. It is left untouched by what you deal with in this human experience. For the record, I will state, I cannot call myself a Christian. And the reason being is that Christianity is not exactly what I believe Jesus had in mind. It's not what I think an all-loving God would have in mind either. I do believe in a divine creator. I do not think it cares what I call it. Be that God, be that Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, so many other names. I will get into the history of Judeo-Christian religions at another date. However, what I took away from growing up in Baptist church was love. That's what Jesus wanted to tell mankind. That we need to come together and love one another as brothers and sisters. And that's what I think politics needs. Republicans and Democrats look at each other as the enemy. They forget that we're supposed to be on the same sides here. We're all supposed to be fighting for the same thing, to make this country better. We all have different opinions on how to do that. And that's what makes the idea of a democracy such a powerful one. People coming together, setting aside their differences, and doing what is good for the whole, instead of just a few. There are so many issues that they try to divide us on. Do you really need to be divided on these things? Some people do need more help than others. Some people do abuse the systems that are in place. Okay? There are people abusing things. This will always be the case. But the few that abuse outweigh the need of the many who would die without this stuff. The children that will die without it. There is not a simple solution to the problems that plague our country right now. There just isn't. But a good first step would be to look at each other as family, to love one another. Now, some people may call me a hippie for having this thought. It's not the first time someone has had the thought that we could come together under brotherly love. There was a movement back in the 60s and 70s that wanted to do just that. The government forcefully shut them down. What were they afraid of? JFK, the night or a week or something like that before he died, told us all that he was going to oust the conspirators that were trying to gain control of our country. He never got a chance to do that. So we may never know who those people are. You can do research online and get theories. Thousands of theories. But the truth at this point about those things, whilst important, isn't and shouldn't be the major concern. The major concern needs to be us coming together, working as one to make our country a better place. Each of us have our own problems in the day-to-day lives that we lead. That's not going to change anytime soon unless we change it. It's going to have to start at a very localized level. It's going to have to start with you noticing that your neighbor doesn't really have the money for school supplies for his children this year. But you have an extra $5 that you can spare to help them out. A lot of people's pride is going to have to go away. Don't be too proud to accept help when it's needed. Everyone needs help sometimes. At the same time, don't be so lazy that you just rely on somebody else's help. Make a better life for yourself with the help you're given. This is why it's a complex issue. Ego gets in the way. Pride gets in the way. The one thing that can cut through all of that is compassion and gratitude for what you already have. A lot of people go out to the used car dealership, don't have much money, but they have to have a car. They get their car and then complain that it's not a Ferrari, it's not a Camaro, it's not what I really want. just be grateful you have that son of a bitch. Because there's a lot of people that don't have the money to go out to the used car dealership and get a car. Those people are riding the bus. Then there's those people that are riding the bus. Wish I had a car. Instead of being grateful for the fact that they at least have the money to ride the bus. Because there's people out there that don't even have the money for that. They're walking. I have seen people walking looking for jobs. When people that had the money for the bus, oh, it's too hot to walk to the bus station. When this guy over here just walked 10 fucking miles for an interview. Took his backpack with him so he could have a change of clothes. So he would look presentable. And then you wonder why you didn't get the job and he did. The ungrateful nature of people has always bugged me. Even though I was once one of those ungrateful people. You have a roof over your head and food in your belly. Be grateful for that. If you cannot find a job, do something else. Volunteer to help someone else. Now, there's always the walk the walk and talk the talk problem and scenario. Here I am telling you what you should be doing. But am I doing these things in my own life? Not always. And that's a flaw with all of us. It's easy for me to sit here and talk about it. It's easy for you to sit here and listen and agree. Yeah, he's right. It's easy for you to sit here and be like, he's wrong. What are we doing? What are we doing to change it? What are we doing to fix the things that are wrong? If the only solution that we have is to talk about it, then nothing's going to get done. And we're no better than Congress. Congress loves to sit there and talk about it. They love to sit there and use language that the common people do not understand. I'll admit, I don't understand all of what they say or why they say it in such stupid phrases. They're obviously not speaking English anymore. Which is ironic to me, considering a lot of them want to make English our one and only language. If that's the case, maybe they need to use some plain language to tell us what they're trying to do. I will not define myself as any particular political party. On the issues, I stand thusly. Social issues the social issues that they're trying to divide us over. Let's start with gay marriage, something that was recently legalized across all 50 states due to a ruling by the Supreme Court. I don't care. These are rights that people should have had anyways. If two human beings want to do what two human beings are going to do anyways, let them. Is it harming me? No. Is it harming my children in any form or fashion? No. Unless a 25-year-old man wants to go around dating my underage son, none of my business. Same applies to the same 25-year-old trying to date my underage daughter. No, that's not cool. If that 25-year-old man wants to hook up with a 52-year-old man, all the more power to him. Three branches of our government: judicial, executive, legislative. These people are supposed to be checks and balances for the other. However, the executive branch is in bed with the judicial branch, and the judicial branch is in bed with the legislative branch. We choose our executive branch from the two ruling societies of the legislative branch. The legislative and the executive then get together to decide who our judicials are. They're all in one little circle, one little clique. Just like a bunch of high school students. You got your jocks over there, and your goths and outcasts over here. You got your geeks and smart kids over there. But everybody is still together, under the same roof, and when it comes time, easy to just go through the revolving door. Come out of business, go into politics. Walk out of politics, right back into business. We don't need businessmen to run a country, because the country should not be ran as a business. Should we cut our costs? At this point, I'm fairly certain that we should cut out the central bank. This is a privately owned bank that is supposedly funding the country. They print money however they want with no oversight whatsoever. We need a new system in place. Perhaps something of a more true democracy. Will it happen? I don't know. Will they push people to the point of rebellion? It's a possibility. Plutocracies have never stayed in power for very long, because they end up pushing the people to rebellion. We have already seen small tastes of this with the Occupy Wall Street movement, with the Tea Party movement, and with several other smaller movements. Each of them were labeled as fanatics, as crazy people, by some other party. With the Tea Party, the Democrats got on board and said they're all a bunch of nuts. Granted, from what the mainstream media showed us, they took the craziest people they could find out of the party and put them up on the stage to make you think that is the whole of the party. And media always does this. With the Occupy Wall Street movement, they took the craziest bastards they could find, with their girls with their titties hanging out and people that looked drugged out of their minds, and put them center stage. In the meantime, on the internet, you could go on and find 100 sane members of either movement And they weren't speaking that differently from each other. But you didn't see that because now our media is controlled by those same businesses that want to keep us divided. We are not each other's enemies. We are one another's brothers and sisters. We are all human. We are all in this country together. For that matter, we are all on this planet together. There are a lot of people that are worried about one world governments. And to some extent, I admit, so am I. If the people that are currently in charge are running those one world government, I am just about ready to believe in the Antichrist. However, local forms of government, as it should be, people that know each other. However, in most cities, it's gotten so bad that even your city council members are running on the same two-party system. Some of them are good people that actually adhere to the original beliefs of the systems that were put in place. However, a lot of them are in it for their own gain. People go into politics because they want to make a difference. At least that's what they tell themselves when it begins. Once they get into politics, the system slowly corrupts them, because that is the nature of politics. It corrupts people because power corrupts. A decentralized government, locally ran by the people that live in the area. In smaller towns, this could be as simple as new city councils. In larger towns, it's going to have to start on a neighborhood or even block level. In my hometown of Coleman, population 5,000 people, what I would recommend is for every 100 people in an area, they have a single representative. Or, better yet, a council made up of one of the oldest, one of the mid-generation, someone from my own generation, someone from high school, and someone from elementary school. With that, let them make decisions. I guarantee you're going to learn more from a child about what's right and wrong than you are from anyone else, because they have an innate sense of it, provided it was instilled by their parents. You're going to learn more from a high school student about your own history because it's fresh in their mind. You're going to learn more from a high school student about everything that's going on in high school. At this point, our country needs an overhaul of everything. Otherwise, the plutocracy is going to continue to get stronger. And as the plutocracy gets stronger, the power of the people is going to weaken. Eventually, it will weaken so much that rebellion will ensue. And the people in power are planning for that. They have camps, who knows where. They have a plan for all of this. These are not dumb people we are dealing with. They have planned this meticulously for over 100 years. They have adapted their plan with A, B, C, D. If we don't come together, we will end up in a plutocracy. And that may be our fate. Perhaps that is the only way we will see another way of doing things. There you have my view on the politics of America at this time. I personally look forward to something different happening. I hope we don't meet the worst case scenario of financial collapse and ruin, which ends up with us against each other once more. The haves versus the have-nots. Of course, they'll spin it their way. They'll blame it on the poorest of the poor. And to the poorest of the poor, they'll say, well, it's not really your fault. It's the middle class. The middle class will blame the poor will blame the middle class. Their opposition, the majority of America, will take each other out, leaving them to sit on their thrones and become our kings.